The Loop, Episode 2. Ashwood, Nightfall. Subscribe if you want to get more creepy stories. Chapter 1. No Way Out. Morning came like a lie. The sun was rising, but it didn't bring relief. Just a pale glow filtered through the grey sky and dense trees. We were still in Ashwood, still trapped. We spent the night in a stranger's house, barely breathing as something stalked the streets. Now it was quiet, too quiet. I looked out the window. Nothing. Just a still, sleepy town. Maybe we dreamed it all? My brother muttered. You didn't dream the man whispering at the door, I replied. My wife stared at the floor. She hadn't spoken much since last night. The woman who had let us in, her name was Mrs. Harper, was already up. She handed us mugs of something warm. You need to be careful now. You're part of this. And this place, it doesn't let go easily. Chapter 2. The Rules. Mrs. Harper sat us down and spoke fast. You're not the first to get trapped here. Some drive in like you, others just appear. Ashwood chooses who stays, and once you're here, there are rules. I leaned in. What kind of rules? She ticked them off with trembling fingers. Never leave your house after sundown. Never answer voices at your door. Never follow anyone who smiles too wide. What? My brother raised an eyebrow. She looked at us seriously. They look like people. They knock like people. They smile like people, but they're not. And when they smile, it means they've chosen you. Chapter 3. The Smiling Man. We tried to leave again. We packed our bags, thanked Mrs. Harper, and drove. 10 minutes down the road, same sign. Welcome to Ashwood. My wife broke into tears. We stopped the car. I kicked the tire and screamed. Then I saw him, a man standing at the edge of the trees, smiling. Not a friendly smile, not a human one. His lips stretched too far, his head tilted unnaturally, his eyes empty. He waved at us and vanished. Chapter 4. Trapped. We went back. Ashwood was still quiet, but not peaceful. We tried to ask people questions. No one answered. Windows were shuttered. Doors locked. Only one woman whispered as she passed, "Don't look them in the eyes." That evening, we stayed with Mrs. Harper again. We locked every door, every window. As the sun went down, the air shifted, heavy, electric, like a storm without thunder. Then came the knock. Chapter 5. The Visitors. "Don't move," Mrs. Harper whispered. We sat in the dark, frozen. The knock came again, a soft rhythmic tapping. "Please, I'm lost. I just need help." It was a girl's voice, sounded young, fragile. My wife covered her mouth. She was shaking. I almost stood up. Mrs. Harper grabbed my arm, eyes wide. "That's not a girl." The voice changed, deeper now. "Let me in." We didn't move. We didn't breathe. Suddenly the voice laughed. A horrible, gurgling laugh. Then came scratching, long, slow claws dragging across the wall, and a face appeared in the window. A smiling man, eyes wide, lips curled, and as we watched, his smile cracked. The skin around his mouth tore, his jaw unhinged, his eyes turned black. Then he was gone. Chapter 6. The attack screams echoed from across the street. I ran to the window, another house. The front door was wide open. Something was inside. We saw flashes, figures moving fast, too fast, twisting, contorting. One moment they looked human, next monstrous. We saw a man dragged into the dark. Mrs. Harper turned pale. "They got in." "What are they?" she whispered. "They were like us once, but they gave in." Suddenly our back door rattled. "They're here," my brother whispered. The lights flickered, then went out. Chapter 7. No escape. In the pitch black we heard breathing, inside the house, not ours. Something was in with us. A slow step creaked on the floorboards. "Run," I whispered, "but to where?" We grabbed flashlights and ran upstairs. The door slammed behind us. I turned just in time to see hands sliding out from under the couch. Long, bone white, reaching. Upstairs we barricaded ourselves. Something was pounding on the door. Then the smiling voice returned. "Come out. I brought your family." The voice of my mother, but she's been dead for years. Chapter 8. A message. The pounding stopped. Silence, then a soft tap on the window, 3 times. I pulled back the curtain. No one, just words, scratched into the glass. "You're already one of us?" Chapter 9. The loop tightens. Morning came. Ashwood looked normal again, but something's wrong. The sky looks off. The trees don't sway with the wind anymore. We aren't the same either. My wife avoids the mirrors. My brother keeps whispering to himself at night. And me? Sometimes. I smile without meaning to. We're still in Ashwood. And night is coming. Again.